welcome! This is part 3 of our Jayco Silver line. In this video we're just going to cover off our must-haves and some of the things that we did spend money on that for us have been a waste of time. Now just let me clarify a little bit about what we mean. First of all, our second part 2 video talks about our upgrades and add-ons. And you'll notice through that video that there's a few times that I say these are our must-haves. So there's a little bit of an overlap that does happen there. So rather than go through those items in detail that obviously have been our must-haves for us, we will just be popping them up probably to the side there with little clips of video and making short mention of them. If you do want to know a little bit more detail about them, pop back to part 2 and have a look and you can see our discussion around them. Now the difference for us obviously is that we are living full-time in our caravan. Now if you're just a weekender or a short-term holidayer in your motorhome or caravan, then some of these things may not be relevant to you. So as we've always said, there's no right or wrongs here. This is our personal preferences. We just are happy to share them and hope that there's a few of you out there that might get the benefit of the information and be able to then make some really good informed decisions without having to go through the period of using something and discovering it was maybe a waste of time. Now the other side of it too is that as we are also wanting to be living as much as possible through the summer months off-grid, meaning that we're not plugged into a 240 volt source at a campground, then there are a few things that we've needed to just add alongside our Jayco Silver line to make that possible. And again, if you're the sort of holidayer who is happy to pop into a holiday park and plug in, have the facilities of showers, kitchen, etc., then a lot of this might be quite irrelevant. Now there's a couple of little tips that we'd like to give along the way as well, so do stay tuned through the video. And remember, as with all our YouTube videos, we love to have comments from you. Please pop in a thumbs up if you like the content, and also if you're not already a subscriber, then pop yourself through so that you get notifications. So here we go, let's just run through some of the things that are our must-haves, why, and maybe what we've wasted some money on. Okay, so let's talk coffee. Whether you're a tea drinker or a coffee drinker, you're going to think about what you need in order to do that while you're out camping. Of course, you've got your good old hearty kettle jug that can be boiled up using your gas. And in some cases, if you are just a part-time camper and you're generally at a park where you've got 240 volt plugged in, electricity running through your caravan, then you're going to be able to also plug in an electric jug if you wish. Now our goal as full-time caravanners is to be able to get off grid as often as we can. So this is how we kind of made our decision, was around how we could do that. So initially we had bought a coffee maker. Now we actually bought this when we were still waiting for the caravan to come, and we had some plays with it making coffee on our gas stovetop where we were. So it doesn't take super long time to work, very good, makes a nice strong coffee. And the only downside really for us, obviously if we were out camping, was getting rid of the contents afterwards, the grains. So we also purchased what is this is like a coffee plunger or French press, as you Americans know it to be. So this is also great because it has got a thick cover on it. It keeps it nice and hot. But again, what we discovered was we had to boil water, so we would either have to use the microwave to boil the water or use the gas. So there was a lot of energy being expended in order to do that. We also then at the end of it had the grains to get rid of, and it's not a huge issue, but it is something to consider when you are off grid as to how you're getting rid of your rubbish. We ended up then coming to our Nespresso. Now we've had this with us and we've trialled using this. Obviously at the moment we're parked up at He Holiday Park, we're on 240 volt, so we can just run it anytime we want. But when we were off grid for 16 days back in March, we were able to still run this on our inverter and lithium power situation, and because it only takes 20 to 30, maybe 40 seconds to do a cup of coffee, it's nice and quick. And of course the advantage is that what you're getting rid of is just the small pods, and you can actually buy compostable pods, and also aluminium if you're not wanting to use plastic. So these are very small, you know, contained waste, much easier to get rid of. So after going through 3 different items, we have ended up using our Nespresso number 1. Definitely, that is the one that we are using every day to make a coffee first thing in the morning and throughout the day if we need it. So these have basically ended up being a little bit of a waste of money. I'm sure if we were back in a house we could use them, but for now, out they go. Okay, so we were in Burnsco long before we got our caravan, thinking about pots and pans and what we needed to use. Now, we had sold and got rid of all of our kitchen pots and pans except for a cast iron, couple of cast iron products. We saw this fantastic set with a steaming facility, or you could use it as a drainer. Always good if you can buy things that can be used for more than one thing. Compact, look at how these fit together, they are fantastic. And then you've got your lids. Alright, now as you can see, there's still plastic on my pots. The reality has been that we have used 2 of these, this maybe 1 or 2 times in 5 months, and this maybe 1 or 2 times in 5 months. I think, now that I know what I know and what my needs are, that with a good cast iron fry pan, with another fry pan that can take a little bit more volume, we probably actually only needed 1 pot. So that has ended up being a bit of a waste. So this has ended up being our most used fry pan cooking utensil in the whole of the caravan. Yes, it is heavier being cast iron, but I tell you what, it's non-stick, you can fry your eggs in it, they come out. We've done all sorts of things. We've been able to pop this straight on the barbie as well, inside our charcoal barbecue. We've made meatloaves in it, all sorts of things. So I kind of, oh yes, and oven proof, so we can throw this in the oven if we need to cook with it. So I'm kind of thinking that although this is a really great concept and may work for other people, for us, we haven't needed all these pots. We really haven't. There's only the 2 of us. 2 of them have been absolutely all we've used, and the others are just sitting in the drawer. So a little bit of possibly a waste of money. We could have bought just 1 good sized pot and been done with. Okay, so here's the solution that we would probably recommend. Something like this, which is called a camp oven, and we purchased this from Hunting and Fishing. So again, it is cast iron, so there's a little bit of weight in it, but for the fact that you're only going to have maybe 1 or 2, you can get these in a couple of sizes. This is a 2 quart, and honestly it doesn't look very big, but once that's full of food, that is more than enough for us, and we'll have leftovers. The beauty is we can pop it in the oven, we can use it out on a fire, we can use it out in the barbecues, etc. And it's nice compact storage. So it's turned out that really these 2 items plus a couple of my smaller pots have really been all we've used. So it's something to consider. In a caravan you have limited space, and you've got to watch weight. And I think the biggest thing that we often get caught up with is we put too much stuff in the caravan, and then the caravan gets overweight, and then you've got a problem with towing and safety. So keep it in mind when you're thinking about your pots and pans. Keep it simple, keep it less, and I think you'll find it's more. We've got a very cool setup, and I must say I'm very blessed to have a husband who is very handy. He knows his stuff. And so, I mean, that does make a huge difference when you're on the road. Right, so apologies, Kevin's got his sunnies on because it is just too glary and I don't want you guys staring into the sun, so we're going to do it this way. Right, so we have got a Holden Colorado, and do you want to just talk through, Kevin, what is our setup that we put in first of all?
So before we go there, the important thing to realize is that as a full-timer, you're going to be on the road and you need to be as self-sufficient as you possibly can. That means being able to do running repairs, particularly if you're off-grid. You can't be running back into town every 5 minutes, so you need to have the tools available to get the job done. So one of the first things we did in order to maximize space is we installed this tray system. So we got this tray system from a company called Airplex in Auckland, and they sell different configurations. This one has the pull-out tops, one pull all the way out, otherwise stuff's going to fall out of it. And of course you've got your drawer system where you can put your tools. So it's very important to have a full set of mechanical equipment. So this is my bag, this is for my mechanical side of things. So I've got my spanners, that actually belongs in the other bag. That's electrical crimper, but obviously you always need a standing knife. You've got your screwdrivers, shifting spanners. Another important thing as well is to carry a full set of spanners. I've got them in both metric and imperial, and that is because some caravans will come with imperial rather than metric fittings. So
wow,
this is the complete set of spanners.
Awesome.
Yep. And yeah, you won't go wrong having these available. From changing the toe ball, the toe balls wear out, and a lot of them come in with imperial threads and therefore imperial bolts. Yep, so really good investment to have one of these.
So metric on this side and imperial on
here's
this
all the
side.
imperials here. That's
great.
imperial metric, yep.
And obviously this compact holder is brilliant, isn't it? Because it's
Yeah.
nice and compact, keeps them all in their place, organised. And that's the thing, I think being organised, having your tools in a systematic way so you can find them and not lose them is really, really important when you're on the road.
And believe me, I've used these tools a lot.
Great. Okay.
Something else is that necessary as well is if you feel that you're up to it and competent to do it, there's going to be some electrical work that you may need to do, whether it be installing more solar panels or putting in lithium batteries and getting rid of your AGMs or your lead acid.
So you did all of that work for us, so
yes,
that is
I
why
did.
you have all that gear.
Yeah.
It may be beyond somebody, their ability to do that sort of work, so
And that's fine, then don't do it. Yep.
Yep.
Get a professional to do
Leave
it.
it to the professionals.
Yeah. So another thing that's really, really important is to have a box with various size fasteners and nuts and bolts. You'll find that you will use them when you need to replace something. I found inside the Jayco there were a couple of screws that were never put in while the manufacturing process was underway inside the cupboards. So the cupboards were basically free floating, there were no screws installed, and so I got some screws and basically put the job, finished it off.
Now when we removed the 2 solar panels as well, when we had to reapply sealant on the roof, you replaced those screws, so...
Yes, I did. I replaced with a thicker shank of screw, because after you take it out, obviously the screw now is weakened because there's not much meat to bite into. And we also used a special watertight sealing tape and put the screws through the tape, and then silicone sealed it afterwards.
Great. Alright. Cable ties.
Cable ties are probably the most useful item in the world.
Yep.
So we carry various sizes of them, and we, from putting the fishing tube in to holding some electrical
Quite sunny.
cables and conduit under the caravan. So when I've installed the Anderson plug for the additional power supply, the conduiting, which is always a recommended thing to do, you don't want wires sitting exposed to the road chips and stones and rocks. Put the conduit in, and you obviously use cable ties to fasten that underneath. The alarm system, the siren is also installed and connected with cable ties. They won't rust, and they're very, very strong and durable.
So you've even got cable ties that are up to half a metre
Yeah.
in their length.
These are the ones we used
Very
to put
cool.
the fishing rod tube in.
Cool, okay. Just noticing it is very sunny. Okay, so just if you're looking up the back there, for people to see, we've got a couple more of these shade cloths that we talked about. We've also got our ladder,
Yes.
our telescopic ladder, which you can have a look at that in part 2. It's one of our add-ons. It's a must-have. You've got to be able to have access to your roof, particularly if you're full-time. You're not going to be able to take your caravan home and use your ladder there. So yeah, they were $199 or something like that from
Yes.
Trade Tested.
Trade tested, yeah.
So yeah, have a look on part 2 if you want to know more about the Atom telescopic ladder.
So in the container there we carry our spare Thetford.
And the black one.
In the black bin over there, I've got my battery operated drill, again something that's very important to
Bosch.
have.
Yep.
It's a Bosch drill, yes. Underneath that we've got the portable 12-volt compressor to inflate the tires. So before we go off on any trip, we check the tire pressures and bring them up to spec on the vehicle and on the caravan. Very important if you want to make sure or minimize the chance of blowouts. We've got the cleaning kit for the car as well.
And then another cleaning kit and a few bits and pieces here.
Yeah, any solvents and that kind of thing we keep inside the bucket here.
And why, just to talk about the fact that we've got an extra Thetford cassette. Again, if you're just part-time and you're moving around, you may find that having a second cassette is quite a waste of time. But for us, because we would be off-grid, then we realise that there'll be times where we may fill up and not have access to a dump station handy, and having that second capacity to be able to just put straight in is really, really useful. Also, the other thing was the seals. If the seals go on one, then we've got the other, and we have purchased replacement spare seals to make sure we've got those sorts of things you don't always think about, but if you get caught out, you're really going to be in trouble. So it's going to definitely shorten your holiday real fast.
Yep.
So these trays are great, aren't they, because they slide in and out.
So we've also got all our drill bits here. Got a multimeter for the electrical side of things.
Yep.
Is
that your conduit cover?
The conduit that we use to cover any wires that we install. Protects them.
Yep.
And of course you always need a little mini electric screwdriver for various items in the caravan.
Get into those small little
sealant
areas.
for when you're working underneath.
Yep.
So yeah, basically pretty much everything that we need is in the back here.
And these trays are really handy for just being able to hold things in them, and so you don't just have it all spilled out everywhere. There's a little bit of space down in here as well that you can store things.
Yeah, we keep our spare fire extinguisher there.
We can just pop this top off very easily and access the fire extinguisher should we need it. Just come around behind you here. So Kevin has really got this set up like his little mini workshop. Everything that he needs, and like we said, our situation being full-time means that we need to carry all of this with us. We try to be as self-sufficient as we can. We don't want to be having to constantly go back into main centres to pick up stuff. I mean, it does happen, but if you've got the gear, you know, if you had something on the side of the road happen and you needed to attend to it, you want to make sure that you do have the gear to do that. Okay, so is there anything else? Sealant, marine adhesive.
Yeah, obviously I mentioned the word silicone earlier on, and obviously you wouldn't use that on certain applications. It's not suitable for example, on the roof of a caravan. So you'd use something like a good Sikaflex
So that's
291.
the 291 marine adhesive sealant.
Yeah.
So you do need to know your stuff as to what's the correct sealant. And the beauty with social media is there's a lot of different Facebook groups with caravan people. I know Jayco, Silverline have got a technical group. You can always ask questions, and people are very, very helpful to give their advice. And look, at last stop, contact Jayco, contact your caravan maker. Don't just guess. Make sure you do, if you are doing work on your caravan, you do it right, and also be aware of your warranties and things like that. If you're doing work and they're not happy with you doing work, then it may void your warranty. Brilliant. Can you remember what we paid for the setup of our trays? It's close to 400, or was it more than that?
No, it was more than that.
Was more than that?
I think the full setup was, I'll obviously check the price and put it up on the the video.
Yeah, we can flash it up.
I think it was closer to 1200.
Oh, okay. I'm way off.
Yeah.
And you installed it, and it was pretty straightforward to install.
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward to install. Just make sure you check the kit before you take it home, because what I found was there was this carpet and this carpet were two different colors.
Oh.
I'm not quite sure how that happened, but
Okay.
the correct color was actually sitting inside there loose, but the wrong color was actually glued down onto these boards. So I don't know whether it was maybe somebody had actually used it and returned it, a customer return, or what the story was, but yeah, I had to replace it. It was simple enough, a little bit of glue, stretch it over, done. Okay, something else, obviously on a caravan there's always going to be storage limitations. There's some things you want to store in the caravan and some things you want to store outside the caravan, and PVC is really a fantastic product to make these storage containers. So as you know, we put a fishing rod holder underneath there, and it's PVC. What we're going to do is we're going to keep our extension cord for when we're at the powered site. We're going to install this under the caravan, and again, simple access through there. Throw the cord in there, close it off, and we carry it along. Don't have to worry about putting it in the back of the ute.
Keeps it watertight.
That's right, it's got its own specific place. That way it's less likely to get mislaid, and yeah, and you could use these storage containers for just about anything you can think of. So I really highly recommend PVC. Just make sure you get the heavy duty walls, and even though you've got these brackets which are quite strong, I always put an extra couple of cable ties just as extra security. A stone or rock comes up and smacks it, you don't want to lose it.
Cool. So one thing we haven't talked about that has, I guess, would be one of our tips that will pop onto this video of must-haves and what we've spent our money on. We have got a slide out, and this is where our bedroom is, and we've got, it's great that Jayco have provided a cover over the top there.
Yes.
So this is to obviously stop leaves and things from getting into that underneath bit, and when you go to pull it in, having to clean it. So the only issue was
it flaps a lot in the wind. So what happens is the wind catches it and it flaps, and because you're sleeping over here, it becomes quite noisy.
Was noisy.
Yeah,
if you're a
so what
light
we've done-
sleeper.
Yes, what we've done is we've taken a little bit of 19mm PVC conduit, bit of rope, and we put a elasticized what do you call it? Bungee cord on the one side anyway, and you just throw it through, bring it around, keep it on tension. It keeps the flap under tension, and you don't get the vibration and flapping around, and it works.
And the key to the fit was to make sure that the piping is just slightly longer than the width, but not so much so that when you do the pull down you got a bow in it, and so therefore it wasn't putting the pressure. So just trying to avoid the sun here. It's a gorgeous day, but it is a little bit tricky. So you see it's just hanging over about 1 centimetre each side, and then that rope continues down and underneath, and that puts enough pressure on that flap, bit of tension on it, so that it doesn't then rise and fall when we are in a windy situation. So you're probably a slightly lighter sleeper than me, and you haven't really...
No, you don't even hear it.
You don't hear it now.
No.
It's pretty good. A lot of people talking about it on social media, using pool noodles and things like that, but we found that this was actually a pretty easy, cheap way to do it, and also for a little thing that doesn't take much storage either. We didn't want something that we then had to try and store away, which can be a pain. So there you have it. That's, if you've got a cover over your slide out and you're noticing noise in the wind, it's a simple fix. So that's a little tip from us. Now, because we've got plenty of stuff in the back of our ute as far as our gadgets that we need, our tools, our extra cassette, etc. ladder. We've opted to do a carry storage on the top of the ute, haven't we?
Yeah, that's right. Obviously it's only for lightweight items, things like fold down chairs, things like the floor matting would go in there as well, and anything that's lightweight. It really does help with the storage space.
Yeah, so, and that's the thing, we often see people travelling with their cars completely loaded up, and it does make it difficult, I think, getting things out, having accessibility. So the beauty with your thule, how do you say it? Thule? Thule? Oh, okay, thule covers like this. The brilliance is that you can unlock it from either side, so you can pop it up and down either side. Just always keep one side locked, otherwise if it pops off it's a real beggar to get back on. But it's amazing how much we can pop in there. But as Kevin said, we don't put anything massively heavy. It's more our lighter things like our camp chairs.
They can take up space here.
Yeah, cool. And of course our barbies have to go in the back of the car as well. Great, so for us that is one of our good spends. Definitely it was a must-have. Once we got on the road we realised we actually did need a little bit of assistance with storage, and that's how we've done it.
Something else that we found very, very handy and useful, and I'm sure this will apply to anybody, particularly when you're in the outback or here in New Zealand with some of the rainy weather, is the Muck Mat. It's made of an artificial grass-like product. It's got a good waterproof backing. It is easy to clean. You just simply run it under a hose, hang it up to dry, and yeah, it's really, really handy. So you come back from wherever you've been, your boots or shoes are full of mud. Perfect place to rub it all off and then give it a clean up. So really highly recommend this. We wouldn't go anywhere without it. It comes from Australia. It's an Australian company that produces this. I think it's in Melbourne, and we'll put some details up on the description for the video.
Right, so here's some fun things I wanted to show you. Things that I have found really great. So here's probably my number one tip, is you're not going to want to have a whole lot of chopping boards, heavy, big, thick things floating around. So if you haven't seen these already, these are plastic. Where's our other one? Our blue one. Oh, we actually keep it inside the sink. Yes, I forgot about that. So we keep it inside here, which just protects the bottom of the sink for when we're putting dishes in there. That works well. So these have all got little pictures on them: veggies, red meat, chicken, the other one is fish. And of course, because they are lightweight, they don't take up a lot of room, they are not heavy, and this would be what you use for your chopping boards, or even possibly putting things on to serve. You could absolutely use these. So we have one other wooden chopping board and these, and that is it. That's all we use. The other thing I wanted to show was these silicone seals, and I'm not sure whether you've seen these before, but we came across these at the Motorhome and Caravan Expo last year, and these have been absolutely wonderful. So what you're able to do is use them as lids on. So for example, you might have a fry pan like a cast iron, and we want to put a cover on it to stop things from splattering. It's quite simple. We're able to just pop this on, and actually we'll go with the bigger one. Pop this on, and that gives us a cover. So if I was cooking anything where I needed to keep the liquid in, not have it boil off too fast, or it was splattering a bit, then this is perfect. So these can withstand, oh look, you can even get a suction on there. So fantastic facility with those. Come in a range of sizes. You could put them on a bowl. So if I was storing something, for example, in the fridge, leftovers possibly, might have my silver bowl, pop this on. As long as the surface is completely flat all the way around, just push it down to suck out the air, and you've got a sealed lid. So again, it just reduces your use of things like Glad wrap, having to have other lids for containers, and even a can. If you opened a can, you could possibly use these. But I've got another couple of gadgets that I want to show you. Now these are really great. These are little gadgets that we picked up at the motorhome and caravan show, and I'd highly recommend these whether you are a full-timer or a part-time caravanner motorhomer. Having these sorts of things to reduce the amount of glad wrap bags etc. you have is really helpful. So these come in a variety of sizes. They are silicone and they're used for being able to pop in. For example, if you've cut an apple, you might have a capsicum, something like that you've cut, and you've got half of that surface you need to seal. Now sometimes I would at home put it in a bag or wrap it in glad wrap. So here what I can do, I've actually got a red onion I've cut. So I basically find the size it's going to fit. I can probably come down to a smaller one there. And then we just stick it in. Now you'll know that if you have an onion in the fridge it usually stinks out the fridge. Not with these. So you just pop it on, let that seal sit around, and there you have it. So the surface that's cut that's going to be causing the stink in your fridge is now covered over, and this will sit in your fridge, and I've had these sitting in the fridge for several days quite happily. They don't go off. So you have got a lot of different sizes. It might be a lime you've cut, you've only used half, you can pop it in there, keep it all good, and because they all fit inside of each other they're nice and compact. Now there's also a avocado version, and we all know how bad avocados are. When you cut them they then go brown. So with this you can squeeze a little bit of lemon in there or over your avocado before you pop it in. It's even got the space for the pip, and pop it in there into the fridge and it will just keep it. The other thing that you might have done is opened up a can and only used a part of the contents. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab out our seal, pop it over our tin, and there we have it. So again, I use these all the time. They've been one of the most used products in the caravan. The other day I actually bought one of those little potted herb plants, and of course normally I'd sit it on a wee saucer with some water in order to keep it alive, and it was brilliant. I was able to stick that inside here, water the plant, the water stayed in the bottom, and it kept the herb nice and fresh and continuing to grow without any problems. If it got knocked over it wasn't a problem, we weren't spilling things. So I'm afraid I don't know what these are called. You'd have to Google these, the little silicone seals. If we do find information about that before we pop the video, we'll put it up or down into our description with the links, and you'll be able to find them. The other thing too is anytime you can get anything that compact, so here we have a funnel, silicone. I think I paid $2 for this at the warehouse. So again, it's just thinking ahead of anything bulky and the ways that you can get around those sorts of things. So yeah, a couple of little tips on things. These have been must-haves for us. We use them all the time, and yeah, it just saves on money being used with glad wrap bags and the other means of storing things. Less waste too. Less food going off because it's stored properly in the fridge. One of the things that we were really aware of after having watched some videos of other RV families was try and always have things that either can fit inside of each other to be nice and compact, or you can use them for more than one thing. So when we saw this at MyD-10, I fell in love with it. How cool is this? All of these different bowls all fit inside of each other and very compact. Even a little pouring edge on that one, this one, and even a colander. How cool is this set? Well, the reality is I've used this. Out of all of those, I've used this. So in hindsight, we actually didn't need it. I have a couple of other bowls up in the cupboard that could have worked quite fine. I didn't need to double up. So again, keep it simple, buy less, and really think about your purchases. In fact, I think probably what we should have done is waited till we had the caravan before we did a lot of our purchasing. We sort of ran ahead, we were all excited and we got stuff, and then we've realised now that actually we didn't need half of it. So it takes up quite a bit of space up in the cupboard. It's not bad though compared to loose. This is actually what I use. So I could have saved my money on that.
The other option is to keep those and get rid of all the others.
No, because one, they can't go in the microwave. So that was the thing.
Are you sure?
They can't go in the microwave, whereas my other plastic can, and my metal can go in the oven and get hot. So you see, there were some disadvantages which we hadn't thought through. And it's not until you're using the stuff. Now the other thing I wanted to show you were these. Now they are air containers only for 10, which I thought was a little bit odd, but these were at one of those $2 cheapie stores. But I decided to get them, and I'm so glad I did, because I don't know about you, but you're probably thinking, you know what, Paula, you can just buy a carton of eggs, 12, and get rid of the carton, right, after you've used it. But what I discovered was that it's actually cheaper to buy a tray of eggs. A tray of 20 even is far cheaper. And of course I can fit my 20 eggs in here and keep them nice and safe. They're also more protected in the fridge. And yeah, so this has actually worked for us really well. So we tend to buy a tray, split them up, put them onto here, and then discard the cardboard. So just something to consider. I happened to see them one day and thought, wow, that could actually work for us, and they've been brilliant. So I've seen lots of these on the market, and I've always thought they were really cool, because of course being that they are the silicone pop-outs, you're able to then compact them and make them really great for storage. So this was something that we purchased. We thought that if we sat it down inside our tray here in the sink, we could protect the surface. The idea was that dishes could be stacked in here, etc., and it would all be good and it would work for us. It actually turned out to be more of a headache and a nightmare, because we actually couldn't stack a lot in here. There's a compartment that sits here that you can put your cutlery in, and it would pop off all the time. The other thing was that, I don't know if you can see this, but the little ridges in here where you can stand your plates, if this is getting wet, then it just gets grimy unless you're washing it out every time. So yeah, we decided it was more of a nuisance, so we popped it away, and it's been sat compressed in our drawers. So this will be going back into storage when we're back in Auckland. The only time we've really used it recently is to stash a bit of stuff in it and use it as a carrying container. So I don't know, for us this didn't work. For you it might, but it was a waste of money. Right, so what actually has worked for us is this. So what we've done is we've bought an additional tray, drainage tray, and we've bought a dish stand. Isn't that cool? It's really nice and compact. Now if you're not aware, Jayco actually do make their lids that sit on the top of their sinks as a draining tray as well. So oftentimes what we've done, we've had this sitting on both sides, particularly when we are off-grid. Now if you're in a holiday park, you might pile your dishes into a bucket, take them over to the facilities and just do the dishes there. To be honest, it is easier, and you're going to have less water use and grey water to get rid of, and we are doing that at the moment using one of our flexi buckets. When we're off-grid, this is what we do. So we've either got this on either side, and we'll have dishes and be working between the two, and I love this because I can turn it upside down when it's ready for it to drain and dry off, and then it just compacts down and back into the drawer. So our silicone compressible container didn't work for us. Simple, this did. Now you can buy these from either Burns Co or the RV Supercenters, and pretty cheap. I think they were under $20, so yeah, well worth it. This would definitely be one of our best buys. It's a must-have. Where are you going to put your laundry? How are you going to trek it across to the laundry? We found this at Kmart, and I tell you what, we've seen a few people with them, so they're quite popular. So it's got a sort of a plastic coating inside so I can wipe it down. It's laundry day to day, so my laundry's over at the machines, and the beauty with it is it compacts down. Look at this. So I can store it really easily if I want, but I'll show you where I've got it in the Caravan at the moment. This is where we pop it. So it sits on the side here, and I just tilt it in underneath the shelf, and then when we've got our washing to do, Kevin and I just plonk it in there, and it's out of the way, it doesn't get seen, and it's worked perfectly. And again, this wasn't a very expensive item. I obviously tossed up whether I'd get something more solid that I could use for other things as well, but this has turned out to be really great, and I can see this could also work for us to possibly carry our beach gear down to the beach because it's easy to wipe down and look after. So yeah, that's our laundry basket, and I think you're going to have something, so for us it was a must-have and definitely worth spending the money on. Do you remember these? I think maybe Grandma might have had one. I never thought I'd actually use it. I bought it when I was traveling to Thailand because I thought it would be handy to dry things in the hotel. And you know what? This has been one of the greatest things we've had here, because you're always going to have things that need airing, drying, tea towels, etc. And you can hang this outside. It's brilliant. You can pop your undies, bras, tea towels, bits and pieces, and when it gets really wet and you're quite stuck, then obviously we've either got the awning out and this is hung up outside. But look what we discovered. Kevin came up with this idea. I don't know what this was from, but anyhow. And you've got the airflow and we can hang our laundry. So it's super compact. You can buy these just in your normal supermarkets in the laundry section, and I highly recommend it because I guarantee there'll be something. You might want to hand wash something. We've got a wee washing machine so I can spin it out. I've used this heaps of times throughout the summer and the winter months, and I highly recommend definitely having one of these. Right, so I'd really like to show you this little gadget just as a little tip of something extra that you might want to add to your caravan. So particularly when you're off-grid or you want something simple to use, this is just has a cutting blade inside, rubber seal on the bottom, and look at this. When you pull it, like a lawnmower getting started, can you see that? The blades spin around and it chops them. So I've used it before to make guacamole, but I'm actually going to experiment because I'm wanting to do a egg salad. And I boiled up these eggs. I was actually using a knife to try and mash them, but because they're now cold, it has gotten quite difficult to do, which I'm sure you'll be aware of. So we're just going to pop some of these egg bits in there, stick this on top. I'm actually thinking I can probably just about make my egg salad totally in this container if I get it right. Right, let's do it. It's not too noisy. Look at that, completely crumbed. Alright, so let's continue. What I'm going to do is I'm going to chop in a red onion. So again, I don't want to particularly put too much in there. It was probably a little bit fast, Kevin. Put that back on there. So that's chopping up the red onion as well. Alright, if you have a look at that, all completely broken down. It's all contained in one container. I can add some mayonnaise. I mean, I've obviously got a bowl full to complete. Add some mayonnaise in there, salt and pepper, a bit of curry, something like that, maybe a little bit of coriander, and voila. And I'll actually take this to our barbecue tonight and serve it from here. So the lid can go back on and it can go back in the fridge. And there you have it. So you can buy these from Kmart. I'm not sure if for overseas where you would get them, but well worth having. Doesn't draw any power and it's fun to use. Alright, hope you enjoyed that. Well, and one of our must-haves would have to be this little boy. If you've got a pet and you're considering going on the road for a holiday, whether it's caravanning or motorhoming, just do it. Don't listen to anybody who says to you it's a pain in the neck. It's a really special time for us having Dinky with us. He is an older dog. He is 11 now, and he spent so many years at home waiting for us to come home from work every day, which was really sad. So now he's with us 24/7, and yes, we do have our moments with him, but on the whole, we absolutely love having him part of our family. The thing we've also found is that there are a lot more parks, locations where we can park up that are dog friendly than what we thought. So we really appreciate that, and the NZMCA parks are all dog friendly, and even some of them have got dog runs. So yeah, we wouldn't be without him. So we're going to roll a little bit of footage of some of the things we've done with him and how much we enjoy him. And if you'd like to see Dinky having his first bath in our caravan, then there is a video on YouTube, Dinky's bath time. It's a bit of fun. It's only short. You might enjoy watching that. So yeah. Dinky, are you going to get up? Oh, you don't want to get up? Is it too cold? It's 7 degrees outside, boy. 7 degrees. Yeah, I know. You just want to stay under the covers. You just want. We got a hill up here, Dinks. Mama's gonna have to go up the hill. Ooh. Yeah. So Dinky, I think that might be a wrap. That's the end, I think, of part 3, our must-haves and our money wasters. So as you can see, we actually didn't waste too much money on things. It was more things that we bought ahead of getting the caravan, and particularly when originally we were getting a rockwood and that all fell through. We weren't to know that. So I guess if you haven't received your caravan yet, just hold off. Think about the things you're going to need, and when you are ready, then hopefully some of the things we've shared today on this video will be helpful for you. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, then please jump on board our Great Escape RV and pop across to our Facebook page as well. We try to post on there regularly and give updates on what we're doing. And also, we love to hear your comments. Any questions you've got, we will be popping information in our description. If we have got locations, websites where you could purchase products that we've mentioned today, things we've found useful, then we'll try and add those in. But anyway, I guess that's bye for now from us, yeah? Okay, see you later.